Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in for a really exciting Firehouse Session. This is Abby, and I am happy to be here with experimental folk musician and multi-instrumentalist Sam Amidon. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to have the chance to talk more with Sam, but first, could you start us with a song?
Sure thing. This is a song called The Old Churchyard. I also call it 3-5. Come with me to the old churchyard. I so well know these paths neath the soft green sward. Friends slumber there that we once did regard. We will trace out their names in the old churchyard. Mourn not for them, for their sorrows are o'er. Why weep for those who will weep no more? Sweet is their sleep, though cold and hard. Their pillows may be in the old churchyard. I know that it's vain when our friends depart to breathe kind words to a broken heart. And I know that the joy of life is marred when we follow those friends to the old churchyard. But were I at rest neath yonder tree, why would you weep, my friends, for me? I'm so weary and worn, why would you retard the peace that I seek in the old churchyard? For me, for I'm anxious to go to that haven of rest where no tears ever flow. And I fear not to enter that dark, lonely tomb where our Savior has lain and conquered the gloom. I rest in the hope that one bright day sunshine will burst through these prisons of clay, and Gabriel's trumpet and the voice of the Lord, they will say out their names in the old churchyard.
You've been listening to Sam Amidon here on WFHB ahead of his show tonight at the Black House. Well, welcome to Bloomington.
It's good to be here. I love Bloomington.
We're happy to have you. I know that you are originally from Vermont, but you are now based in London. How long have you been there?
I've been there over 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, since 2012 or so.
Do you love it?
I do love it. Yeah, it took me some time to adjust. It's confusing because it's the same language, but it's a different culture and a different world. So I'm American. I'm from Vermont. I had been living in, on the East Coast in New York City before I came. And yeah, there's a lot to it, sort of subtle things that you can't quite figure out to adjust to. But yes, I love being there. I love being in Europe and traveling around over there.
Yeah, that's so nice. You get to be close to everything.
Yes, especially Ireland, because I love playing Irish tunes on the fiddle.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, your new beautiful album, Salt River, came out earlier this year on January 24th, and it received really really, really good press.
It's a good response. Yes.
Really good press. The New Yorker, Guardian, Pitchfork, tons of stuff. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Something when I was doing research that came up a lot is community and how that is sort of pretty important to your music and the themes on your album. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Vermont, and similar to here, there's a very strong folk music scene there. And I grew up with a lot of folk dancing. It's called contra dancing and group harmony singing. And, the whole idea of music. My parents are great folk musicians. They play banjo and sing and all that stuff. But their lives have been spent much more interested in community music making. They did do concerts. They were great performers, but they much preferred to be leading singing or just, being part of like group music making. So that was my roots. And then as a teenager, I became much more interested in, experimental music and avant-garde free jazz and whatever craziest sounds I could find, and as well as indie rock and Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. And when I came to New York, I was sort of in search of more of those experimental sounds. But then when you think about improvisation, that's also a form of community music making.
Yeah.
So in my albums, I've been kind of interested in I'm reworking the folk songs. The material of this albums is mostly from traditional folk songs, but using that as a platform to collaborate with people from more of the experimental, classical, and jazz worlds. And it's kind of a way of bringing that community spirit into a more adventurous or a different kind of sonic universe.
Yeah, that's very cool. And you mentioned that not tonight, but in other cities, you're playing with artists from those cities.
Yeah, on this tour,
shows.
It's kind of a bit of the necessity is the mother of invention, but it's also a beautiful thing to do, which is that I played with Toronto musicians in Toronto and New York musicians in New York, and maybe I'll get Sam Bartlett to play some banjo for me tonight. Who knows?
Do that.
Yeah. Wherever I go, finding people along the way is part of the adventure.
Yeah, that's great. You started playing fiddle when you were 3, is that right?
That's right. Yes.
So just had a knack for it.
Yeah, there was a great teacher in Brattleboro, a Suzuki teacher named David Tascal, who was the only person mad enough to teach a 3-year-old an instrument. I don't know if it hadn't been for him, I'm not sure I would have started quite so young. He was just had a great energy that really, you could get made it an adventure. And then starting around age 8, I had a very close friend named Thomas Bartlett, who's gone on to become a very successful producer and musician. He plays on Taylor Swift records and all this kind of stuff. And but we were best friends from a young age. And I was like pretty normal kid, and he was like, I just composed a tune. I'll arrange it on piano, and then we can play basketball after that. So he had that kind of intensity that also we had a band together as teenagers, and we still have done stuff together in our adult lives as well.
That's so cool. Did you always know that you were going to play music for your...
Well, I had a foolproof plan to join the NBA from age 12 because I figured I was one of the better players in my school, which had like 10 people. So then I was going to be in high school, but then I didn't make my middle school basketball team. So then I switched back. I fell back to music at that point.
That's great. Well, I also, before I have you play another song, I wanted to mention, because I know our listeners will be interested, because I was interested,
yes.
That you are married to English musician and folktronica pioneer Beth Orton.
That's correct. The great Beth Orton, the legendary.
Amazing. And you mentioned that you have some shows together.
Yeah, we have a child together. We have kids. We have, and we did lots of concerts way back in the day when he was little. But then when they're in school, it's much easier to go out separately. And we just had separate creative projects as well. Beth made an amazing record a couple of years ago, Weather Alive. But we're going to do some concerts in Ireland this summer as sort of a duo. And it's fun to kind of come back to doing that again. I'm a huge, I'm a great admirer. I think she's one of the great songwriters of our time.
Yeah, she's amazing. Have you ever thought about doing an album together?
I think if I could hopefully it would emerge organically through some of these gigs. So
Very cool.
It's a first step.
Well, I think now would be a good time for another song.
Great.
These
are mostly folk songs, as I said, but I'm going to do a Lou Reed song now. This
Love
is called Big Sky. Big sky, holding up the sun. Big sky, holding up the moon. Big sky, holding down the sea, but it can't hold us down anymore. Big sky, holding up the stars, big sky, holding Venus and Mars, big sky, catch you in a jar, but it can't hold us down anymore. Big sky, big enormous place, big wind, blow all over the place, big storm wreaking havoc and waste, but it can't hold us down. Big sin, big original sin, paradise where I've never been, big snake, break the skin, but it can't hold us down anymore. Big sky, holding up the sun, big sky, holding up the moon, big sky, holding down the sea, but it can't hold us down anymore.
You've been listening to Sam Amidon here on WFHB ahead of the show tonight at the Black House. I wanted to read a little quote from Pitchfork, who reviewed your new album. Sam Amidon's music draws deeply from traditional folk, country, and blues, but it's too refined to be mistaken for them. It takes in pop reworkings, Mariah Carey and Tim McGraw and Tears for Fears, but it's too understated and eccentric to be pop. Can you talk about how, that was a Lou Reed song and sort of that process?
Yeah,
it's very
totally.
Cool.
So it's been, they're folk records because there's traditional folk songs and I'm playing an acoustic guitar. But actually, I never really thought of them as folk records because I grew up with such traditional music. Like, I didn't even really grow up with people singing in their own songs. It was more traditional fiddle tunes or harmony singing. So this process of making all these records has been really like a playground for me to see what can happen with these melodies and stories, the stories of all these ancient folk songs when they're put in these different contexts. And then you sort of start singing well, what is a folk song? And, and it's not it's not a conscious thing, but I'll hear a song from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I'll think, oh, that's just a folk song. And on this album, there's 3 of them. There's a Yoko Ono poem song called Ask the Elephant. It's like a children's sort of song. So I did it in a kind of more childlike way. And there's an Ornette Coleman, the avant-garde saxophonist composer Ornette Coleman song called Friends and Neighbors that he wrote the lyrics for when he moved to this neighborhood that I sing on the record. And this song I just did, which is Lou Reed, which I actually found the words first in a book of his lyrics.
Oh,
and just
wow.
reading those first few verses, I was like, man, that's such a folk song. They were just such beautiful about nature. It's such something you'd sing around a campfire. And then I listened to his recording, which is amazing, but it's very dark and punk and heavy. And there's all these extra verses later on that are darker. So I just thought, what if you just took those first few and kind of gave them different, it's a kind of a way to give it a different meaning.
Yeah, that's beautiful. In The Guardian, I read that in October, Bon Ivier's Justin Vernon asked you to debut his new music, which that was an amazing album. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. His EP that he put out in advance of the full record in October, and he invited me because he's been a great supporter over the years and we've done stuff together in different contexts. He invited me to sort of premiere the songs in this teeny little club in London, in East London. And it was really wonderful. I mean, it was an amazing experience to get inside the songs because I had to sort of work up my own rendition.
Right.
And it was just such a generous and beautiful and trusting thing of him to let somebody else try the song in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, and he had a great energy for it. So yeah, it's fantastic.
That's great. That's so cool. What can our listeners expect tonight at the show?
Oh, I'm going to be playing all like you're hearing tonight, playing my folk songs, playing solo. I also have my fiddle, which I don't have here right now, but I'll bring out for some tunes tonight. And songs and stories. You never know what's going to happen.
Wonderful. Well, it looks like we have time for one more.
Great. I will do a folk song called As I Roved Out on the banjee. winter's night. Drinking of sweet white ice by that girl, sweet little girl, who broke this heart on my Mother's banjo. Her cheeks are like some red roses. Who's in the month of June? Her voice is like some instrument. Always on some tune. What is your banjo? I wish to the Lord that I never been born. God, when I was young, I never waited to kiss your red ruby lips, or heard your lying tongue. What is it? All the green, green grass trampled underfoot will rise and bloom again, but love, it is a killing thing. Did you ever feel such pain?
You've been listening to Sam Amidon here on WFHB. That was so good. How can our listeners connect with you and keep up with what you've got going on?
Oh, all the usual places, Instagram and mailing list and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, keep an eye out. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for making the time to come in and do this. It's been an honor having you.
Such a pleasure.
Sam Amidon is playing a show tonight with local support from David James at the Blockhouse. The show starts at 8 p.m. Be sure to subscribe to our WFHB Firehouse Session YouTube page where these sessions will be posted. This is your host, music director, and Firehouse Session producer, Abby Noroozi, and I'd like to give many thanks to our general manager, Jar Turner, engineer Marcus Drolet, and videographer Brian Boucher of No Guru Media. And I also want to thank the Bishop Bar for sponsoring these sessions and to you for tuning in to WFHB.